You love each other. Welcome tonight. It's going to be an awesome service. And she has great energy. Love you guys.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan, and I'm the pastor here, and I'm so glad to be with you all on another Saturday evening here in Denver. Yeah, we could clap for that. So this is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here, our mission here is to break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And listen, if you're online with us tonight, welcome. You are part of the Free family. So wherever you are, whatever state you're in, whatever country you're in, we're glad you join with us each week here in this community, and you are part of this community. So welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, y'all, a couple things you might want to know about coming up. It's not this Wednesday. It is not this coming Wednesday, but the next Wednesday. We have the Free Kids Volunteer Training and Vision Casting. So we are always looking for more volunteers to work with our kids. And some of you heard from Alyssa last week and the amazing things that's happening. Alyssa's our Director of Free Kids and Family Empowerment. And man, they're doing just in those back rooms, and those hallway rooms, they're doing like recovery stuff. They're doing spiritual formation, spiritual practices. It's so cool what's happening with our growing kids community. So if you want to be a part of that, if you want to volunteer for that, this training is required to volunteer with our kids. So do come 6:30 to 8 on February 2nd. That's a Wednesday night, and I think you're going to dig it. You're going to enjoy it. So if you want to be a part of that, that's in a week and a half. What else do we have coming up? Oh, I want y'all to, Tammy Canaday is in the house in the corner. How about that? How about that? Here's a little video. Who's drinking coffee tonight? Yeah, about everybody's drinking coffee. Do y'all know what kind of coffee you're drinking? You are drinking Wagon Coffee. Tammy roasts the coffee here in the, if you go back towards the kitchen. Some of y'all know our cafe, the Free Cafe, is going to be open, we hope, in March. They're remodeling the kitchen. They're getting the whole thing going. But we figured we'd show you a little video about Wagon Coffee. Here's Wagon Coffee.
Coffee and addiction recovery go hand in hand. Did you know 90% of recovering alcoholics and addicts consume coffee, according to a study by Vanderbilt University? And not only that, but the average American alone consumes about 2 cups of coffee a day, and that number gradually increases every day. Chances are, you are a coffee drinker, or you know someone that is. What if I told you that you could actually make a tangible difference just by supporting Wagon Coffee? Let's break it down. Wagon Coffee is a thoughtful hybrid of passion and purpose. We are being the wagon and changing lives by providing jobs, internships, and volunteer opportunities for women in recovery. We are all about whole bean coffee that inspires wholeness in individuals, in communities, in the world. It's pretty simple. Whole beans for wholeness. We are proud that we have direct relationships and connections with farmers in various countries. Many we even know by name. This provides the opportunity for us to receive pictures and updates of our coffee before it's even shipped or hand-delivered. For us, it's critical that we purchase coffee that is ethically sourced. Farmers receive livable, workable wages while upholding local initiatives that support their particular communities and livelihood. Some examples of this are Fair Trade, Direct Trade, Rainforest Alliance Certified, and UTZ Coffee. These labels, or seals, are given to represent rigorous environmental standards, while promoting sustainability and the rights of well-being of workers. We pay premium prices, but we like to think of it as paying it forward by being aware and intentional about where our coffee comes from. And in turn, when you purchase our fresh roasted whole beans, you are supporting, empowering, and providing jobs, structure, and skills to women in recovery. Proceeds directly impact women in recovery through the simple act of buying and enjoying our coffee. With well over a decade of coffee experience, I have found a deep appreciation, not only for the bean, but for the backstory of the bean, the people, and the art of roasting it. When you join us by drinking Wagon Coffee, we are being the wagon and inspiring wholeness in individuals, in communities, in the world together. Support those in recovery. Buy Wagon Coffee.
Tammy Canaday and Wagon Coffee, and so many of you women who help do the roasting and the bagging and the shipping. So buy you a bag of coffee tonight, $20 for each bag. Who's drinking white coffee tonight? Those are the people that aren't going to be sleeping later. 70% more caffeine. And Dan Rapp in the back is holding up coffee. Dan, you're looking good, dude. Look at that. 3 bags for $52.80. Yes, that is the promotion. All right. Listen, y'all, the way we start here in this, I need to say this. If you're new with us tonight, if it's your first time here, we have welcome bags. Are we out of welcome bags? You passed them all out? We had 20 bags out. That means there's at least 20 new people tonight. Hot dang. Well, in that bag, you're going to find some fresh roasted coffee. We do little 2-ounce sample bags of coffee. So go home and brew a pot of coffee. Well, maybe wait till tomorrow morning. Brew a pot of coffee and enjoy it. Listen, the way we start here at Free is with celebrations. We celebrate the good stuff in life. We don't pass over the hard stuff, but we don't start with the hard stuff. We end with it. So take 3 minutes. If you're online, you can put your celebrations in the comments on YouTube or Facebook. And if you're here in the house, this is our opportunity to celebrate together, whether it's sobriety, birthdays, new babies. Man, we got some brand new babies in the house tonight, kind of like 2 and 3 months, 13 days apart. How beautiful is that? So we like to celebrate together, lift it all up. God celebrates with us, and it's one of the cornerstones of this community to remember to start with gratitude. So take 3 minutes, and Derek, my boy Derek, will be passing around a mic, and just tell us what you want to lift up, what we can celebrate with y'all. So take 3 minutes, and we'll come back.
Hello world, wake me up to another good morning, time to go. Got that smile upon my face, 'cause there's excitement in the chase, this I know. Yeah, I'm going for the ride, and by myself I am alive, and I soar. Still I run toward the wind, and let the challenge draw me in, 'cause I want more. Oh, we are all looking for adventure. 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 Oh, wake up heart and wake up mind, and see the world is yours to find, and with every passing day there's more, calling you out to explore. Get up and go. There is joy found in the race, and I feel it in the place where I'm free. And I simply can't deny it, that I feel adventure calling out to me. Yeah, we are all looking for adventure. 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 We are all looking for And I'm living free, living free, living free, and I was meant to be. Living free, living free, living free, and I was meant to be. I'm living free, living free, living free, and I was meant to be free. Meant to be.
Oh, one more, D.
I want to celebrate the fact that I'm alive because I was in a rollover car accident today, and I'm still walking.
We're glad you're here. All right, Tammy Canada is going to join me up here. I'm drinking decaf tonight.
You are?
I tried to switch over. I tried to do 2 cups of
proud of
regular in the
you.
afternoon, then I switch it over to decaf. But we have another episode of Ozark to watch tonight.
We do. At
Who's
least
watching
one.
Ozark? We ought to be celebrating that mess. Okay, let's get serious for a minute. We got people we need to celebrate.
Kylie says, I am 19 months sober. Hey, Kylie.
Way to go, Kylie!
Is Kylie in the house? Have you seen her? She around?
I don't think
Popping
she's
around?
here.
No?
I think she's
Saw her
just online.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Good to have you, Kylie.
Andrew says, I want to celebrate my beautiful and amazing wife, Chandra Swenson. She is doing absolutely amazing through this pregnancy and is going to be an amazing mother to our baby boy.
Yep.
Andrew, man. That's how you do it right there, dude. You know how to do it.
That's right,
Chandra,
that's
we're
right.
happy for you and him.
It's true. You're beautiful. You never complain. It's fun watching you become a mama.
Oh, and we have a sign for you. It's on my desk. I'll show you afterwards.
Yeah. With a 3D printer.
Yes.
Molly Ann says getting promoted at work. Hey, Molly Ann.
All right,
Good
Molly
stuff.
Ann. That's the good stuff. Arnold says, want to celebrate that I'm sober, have a great job, stressful but good girl next to me watching with me, my kids back in my life, and I'm just loving life. Man, that's
Celebrate
that's
that,
beautiful.
Arnold.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Arnold. We're celebrating that with you. You doing this one?
Sure. Hey, Pam, she says celebrating a lifelong goal. 24 years in the making, I've been selected as a president-elect for the Association of Family Medicine Administrators Board of Directors. Woo, that is a title, huh? Supported by the American Academy of Family Physicians. Such an honor. Looking forward to supporting and leading so many amazing women and men.
Way to go,
that is
Pamela.
Cool, Pam.
We'll celebrate that with you. All right, Jen says, celebrated my beautiful girlfriend, Christy. GF is girlfriend, right? I think it is. She makes me a better person every day. Jen, we are celebrating that with you. We love that you and Christy are part of this community each and every week.
Ooh, and I wanted to say, Lou celebrated 14 years this week.
Lou celebrate. That's
Yes.
right. Happy
Yeah.
birthday, Lou.
Woo. And
Man.
Leslie is celebrating 3 years on Monday. No
Who
frontsies,
is?
sorry, Andrew, but Leslie celebrates 3 years on Monday.
All right.
Yeah.
Way to go, Leslie. Thank you, Tammy. And for those of you that, you can put it on the stand. For those of you online that didn't get to join us in the house, we had 9 months, I don't know, we had a lot of celebrations in here. It was like months and years and good stuff. So it's always so fun to celebrate together as a community. So we're going to keep doing that every week because, well, that's how we roll. All right, y'all. We are in week 3 of this 4-part series called What We Stand For. And listen, here's the 4 things we stand for. I mean, we stand for more things, but these are the 4 things that are so core to this community. We started with authenticity, then we had recovery, and this week it's no shame. Why we don't do shame in this community. And then next week we're going to close with new life. But here's a little video. Take a look. We created Free because someone had to stand for the addicts and loved ones of addicts who were suffering in silence, for the spiritual refugees who didn't have a place of belonging. A traditional church model doesn't create space for the conversations we know have to be had. Free is standing with those who are barely hanging on, who are longing for something new. Free is bridging the gap between spirituality and recovery. In this place, God meets us exactly where we are. This is what we stand for. Man, that had some bass at the end, didn't it? Thank you to our digital content director, Danny Colella, who's always creating video content for us. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Drew. Y'all in the back leading our tech team. It's always good to have you here, and you guys keep things running smoothly. I picked up my first drink when I was 16 years old. And I was at my dad's house. It was a Saturday morning. And see, my dad and my stepmom, they don't even really drink, but they had this cabinet near the kitchen that had some booze. And I guess it was for, like, I don't know, gatherings and house guests and whatever. But I remember I woke up that Saturday morning and I saw that bottle of Bacardi rum. And my first thought was, I wonder what that's going to do to me. And I'd never taken a drink before. That was my first time. And I should tell you all something about my childhood. Since I was a little boy, I remember having these feelings of not really belonging in the world, feelings of unworth, and feelings that it was like you all took this training class on how to do life, but I missed that day. And you all knew some wisdom and some keys to life that I just didn't get. And so that morning, I'll never forget that Saturday morning being 16 years old and when alcohol entered my body for the first time. And by the way, if you're an Enneagram 4, like I am, those feelings can be pretty intense. You know what I mean? For you 4s in the room. When alcohol entered my body for the first time, it gave me this feeling of being very powerful. It gave me a feeling of being in control. It gave me a feeling of ease. Like those feelings I didn't like about the world, those feelings I didn't know what to do with, those feelings inside, those things that I didn't like about myself, all of a sudden those things took a back seat. And see, that morning it was just my sister in the house and her boyfriend, who is now my brother-in-law, because they got married. And that morning didn't end well because my very first drink was a blackout drunk. And I'm told from them that they had me out in the backyard, stripped down to my boxers, and they were hosing me off because I was puking my guts out all over myself. And see, what I remember is waking up a few hours later, coming to and being alone and in hiding. My greatest fear was that people would actually see the real me. And see, at that time in my life, I was a leader in the church youth group. And that week, some of my youth group friends found out, and they asked me about it. And I remember them saying, Ryan, did you like it, though? And man, the lies that just started flowing out of me. No, man, I hated it. It was awful. I don't know why anyone would ever drink so much to where they can't remember things and they black out and then they're puking all over themselves. And man, no, I hated it. I'm never going to do that again, and you shouldn't do it either. But what I was really feeling inside, and they could never know this, was I loved that feeling, that effect produced by alcohol. My thought was, how do I get this feeling again? In that moment, I was obsessed in my mind with getting that feeling, but I didn't want anyone to know because that would cause shame. Alone and in hiding. And see, in high school, I didn't drink very many times because there was too much fear and shame wrapped around it. Only a handful of times. And the second drink was a lot like the first drink. It was just a few months later. And see, my brother, who's 3 years older than me, died of this disease at the age of 22. 3 years older than me, him and Nick, see, they lived in a trailer just across town. And on this particular day, I got a phone call that let me know that they had been arrested again for, causing mischief in the town. And my first thought wasn't about them and their well-being, but it was, wait a minute. I wonder if their trailer is unlocked, because I know it's probably in there. So I get in the car and I drive over across town and I go up to the trailer. And sure enough, the front door was unlocked. And so I walk in, and to my great delight, there was a full bottle of vodka sitting on the kitchen counter. And see, I had a water bottle, and I took that water bottle and I filled it up, and I drove back home, and no one was home that evening. And I went down into the basement, into my room, and I closed the door, and I drank the way I wanted to drink, alone and in hiding. And see, it wasn't the fear of getting caught or the fear of getting in trouble. It was the fear of, I hope they never really see me. I hope they never know that I like this feeling, that I like what this thing is doing for me, that I don't really like myself. And you know, the third drink was a lot like the first and second. In the kitchen, alone. No one was home that evening. I was cooking my macaroni and cheese, and I saw some vanilla extract that Mom used for cooking, and I saw that it had alcohol in it. Alone and in hiding. And my brothers and sisters, one thing I know, and I should tell you also, I got sober at the age of 30. And it all ended the same way it started, alone and in hiding, hoping no one would ever really see the real me, because that would be scary. And if you saw the real me, well, then you would see that I was fundamentally flawed and unworthy of love and belonging. And see, what I know about this disease of addiction, it is so often rooted in shame. And it will always try to convince you that your best option is to be alone and in hiding. Now, there's lots of ways we could define shame, and you might have your own definitions of shame. In fact, if you're online with us tonight, you can give us those definitions of shame. Let the community in. How has shame portrayed itself in your life? Here's 4 ways I define shame, and see if you resonate with them. The first, shame is when you look into the mirror and you hate what you see. Number 2, shame is the relentless hope that no one ever really sees you. And number 3, shame is the embodiment of, if God could see all of me, trust me, God wouldn't want me. And then number 4, shame is that internal nagging voice that tries to convince you that hiding is always your best option. And see, one expert in shame resilience theory, she defines it this way. She says, shame is an intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. Now, you know, it's really interesting because one of the most fascinating passages in all of Scripture is found in the New Testament in John's Gospel. And keep in mind, there's 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. In John's Gospel, chapter 14, Jesus is sitting with his disciples, his friends, his followers, and he starts to tell them, like, hey, y'all, listen, things might be going down soon when I go to Jerusalem, and things might turn south, and I'm not going to be with you forever. But he says, listen, you guys are going to go on and do the things that I've been doing. And then he says, in fact, you will go on and do even greater things than I've done. And it's interesting because Jesus is talking to a group of primarily nobodies. These weren't special people. I mean, these were people that didn't have power and prestige. They were people, many of them were from these small fishing villages on the very margins of society. And apparently, Jesus believed in them and thought they were going to do great things, things that were even greater than the things he did. Fascinating, isn't it? You see, my brothers and sisters, where is your starting place? Do you believe that you are fundamentally flawed, unworthy of love and belonging? Or do you believe that you are called to greater things? You see, because the truth is, and it's a simple one, but it's a very profound one, you are great. It's the way you were created. But see, the problem is so many of us live not into the greatness that we were created with, that God created us as, but we live into that constant spitting cell where we've been placed by shame. Do y'all remember the spitting cell? The spitting cell was a torture device used for prisoners. And they would put these prisoners in this small box that covered their body up to their neck. It couldn't move your arms, couldn't move your legs. All you could do was stand, and then the door would close right at your neck. And see, the tradition was, the custom was, that the prison guard, when they would walk past you, they would spit in your face to remind you who you are and where you are. And think about it. You can't move your arms. You can't wipe the spit from your face. You can't shield yourself. You're just totally exposed. I mean, the only thing you could do is close your eyes and hope that next time when he walked by, he wouldn't spit on you again. And see, the truth is, some things happen in your life, don't they? Some awful things might have happened to you. Or maybe you did something that placed you in a certain situation, and now it's like you're in a spitting cell, and the world is spitting at you, and your greatest hope, your greatest prayer is to just, maybe they won't spit at you next time they walk by. Close your eyes and hope it gets a little better. And you know, it doesn't always have to be the big tragic events, does it? I know that's where our minds go when we start talking about shame. But it's not always the big events. Sometimes it's that everyday life stuff. Think about kids. Think about how shame plays out with kids. You know, something I learned with all 4 of our children in the days of potty training, and thanks be to God, all our kids are potty trained now. We're finally out of diapers. We've been in diapers for like 10 years. Oh my goodness, it felt like it was never going to end. And one thing I know about doing this potty training stuff, and they all did it. I'm assuming I did it too when I was a kid. They would kind of get it, but it wouldn't click all the way yet. So when they want to dirty their diaper, they would go into this corner and act like no one would see them, and they would be hiding. Bricks was just doing this a couple months ago. Man, he has a little PlayStation area in the living room, and we'll be watching TV, and he would scoot off to his little PlayStation. And he thought we couldn't tell what he was doing. It's like, dude, we see you. I know you think you're hiding, but we see you. Dude, we smell you. Your face is turning red. You're grunting. We hear you. Sorry to get too vivid with y'all. And he would think no one would see him. And it's like we learn shame as kids, don't we? We learn the power of hiding even as kids. You know, last week I was picking up our 8-year-old daughter, Shiloh, from gymnastics. And she had just got bumped up in this certain class, and so she was the new one in this older kids' class. So I pull up at 8:45 in the parking lot, and she's running outside. The class is over at 8:45. She runs outside, and she's running because she's in shorts and it's cold. And she gets in the car, and I said, baby, how'd it go? And she immediately burst into tears. And she said, Poppy, I'm never going back there. I don't know everything they know, and it made me look stupid, and I can't do that dang back handspring, and I'm never going back. Man, it was a hard moment to be a part of. So we get home, and she goes straight up to her room. She doesn't say hi to anyone in the house, goes straight up to her room. And I gave it a minute, and then I go up, and Shiloh's got the lights off, and she's got the covers pulled over her head, because y'all know what shame does, right? It tells you you're unworthy of love and belonging. It tells you that you're fundamentally flawed. It tells you that hiding is your best option. Just pull the covers over your head. And so I go up to her, and we've had many conversations like this before, and I pull the covers down, and I said, listen, baby, our love for you, me and Mama are going to love you no matter what. It doesn't matter if you nailed that back handspring or not. And what we need you to do is come downstairs and finish another episode of Cobra Kai. Don't judge. We were binge watching Cobra Kai on Netflix the last couple of weeks. So finally, after a few minutes, she came downstairs and she rejoined the family. And can I tell you what happened just on Thursday night? Thursday night, same thing, because she goes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So Thursday night, I pull up to the gymnastics parking lot, and I'm waiting for Shiloh to come out. Same thing. She starts running because it's cold outside. She gets in the car. She sits down, and I'm praying, God, I hope this went well. I said, baby, how'd it go? She got the biggest smile on her face. She looked at me. She said, Poppy, I nailed that back handspring. It's so easy, and they all want me to keep coming back. Man, it's a shame teaches us to hide, and it's almost like it's been this way from the very beginning of time, isn't it? You know, the ancient Hebrew people, the people of the Old Testament, they tell these creation stories. And I say stories because it is plural. There's two creation stories in this book called Genesis. It's the very first book of the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible, the very first book of the Bible. They tell these creation stories. There's two of them in chapters 1 through 3. And in the second story, later in Genesis chapter 2, they tell this story about Adam and Eve eating of the fruit of a particular tree. Now, whenever we read stories like this, we have to ask, why did they tell these stories, and why did they tell them in this particular way? Because keep in mind, they were a people trying to make sense of God and their world. They were a people just like us trying to make sense of things like joy and suffering and pain and loss and happiness and hope, all the things we try to make sense of. Here's how the second creation story starts. Genesis chapter 2:25. The two of them were naked, the man and his wife, but they weren't embarrassed. And then y'all know what happens. I'll skip forward in the story a little bit. This talking snake comes along. And if you're thinking right now, yeah, Pastor, that's why I don't believe in the Bible. That's why I don't believe those stories, because there's things like talking snakes. And hold up just a minute. Maybe it's not that you don't believe these stories, but you don't read them literally. I don't read these stories literally either. These are stories that teach us about people's experiences with God, and we have something to learn from that, right? They're making sense of God and their world. These are sacred stories. So this talking snake comes along and says, who told you not to eat of this tree? You can eat that fruit. It might make you feel good. It might take away some of those feelings that you don't like about the world and yourself. You can eat of this fruit. So they eat of the fruit, and they realize they're naked. They say, oh my goodness, we're naked. They've been naked the whole time. Oh my goodness, we're naked. So they get some fig leaves, they sew them together, and they decide to put them around their waist and their upper body and cover themselves. Here's how the story picks up. During that day's cool evening breeze, they heard the sound of the Lord walking in the garden, and the man and his wife hid themselves from the Lord God in the middle of the garden's trees. The Lord God called out to the man and said, where are you? How often is God asking us that question? Where are you? Why are you hiding? The man replied, I heard your sound in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself. Shame enters the human story. God, if you could see me, the real me, you won't want me. Shame will always try to convince you that hiding is the best option. And see, the Genesis story, it could have stopped right there. It could have stopped there, and it could have ended with, and God's heart cracked when he heard that his own kids were fearful of what he might think of them. I mean, can't you imagine God saying, wait a minute, what? You're hiding? You think there's something you could do where I'm not going to want to be around you, where I'm not going to be with you? I created you. And now you're hiding? But see, the Genesis story, it doesn't stop there. Now it keeps going. It tells us that Adam and Eve, they went on to live lives east of Eden. And see, the whole rest of the Bible is essentially about cooperating with God to get back to Eden, a place where there is no shame. Yeah, they did something wrong. We could even call this sin. And I know some of you here in this room, some of you watching tonight, you have lots of baggage with that word sin. But remember, what is sin? It's the disruption of shalom. Remember shalom, that Hebrew term? It means peace and wholeness and well-being and completeness. All the things that come along and disrupt peace and wholeness. And now they live east of Eden. You see, my brothers and sisters, do you live east of Eden? Is shame holding you captive in a spitting cell? In your life, has shalom been disrupted? Has something happened Or did you do something to disrupt the process of shalom, and now you're stuck in hiding, hoping no one ever really sees you? And have you convinced yourself that if God knew the real you, God would want nothing to do with you? And if you're honest, most mornings when you wake up and look in the mirror, you hate what you see. You know, these aren't new questions. If you're battling this, if you're struggling with shame, this is nothing new. It's been this way since the beginning. In fact, in the first century, it was the Apostle Paul who was talking to this church in Rome. He said, I know what y'all are asking. I ask the same questions. I know what you're struggling with. And he says to them, for I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation, neither your addiction, or no matter how far you've wandered off the path, no matter how much of a spiritual refugee you are, no matter the loved one in your life who's battling addiction, nothing can separate us from the love of God. Absolutely nothing. And let me just close with this. For those of you that are thinking to yourself, yeah, but Pastor, we got to let them know they're wrong, right? I mean, when people are living opposed to the way of God, we got to let them know they're wrong, don't we? You don't think they already know? You don't think they know that they're dying? Because the truth is, someone is here tonight, someone is watching right now who is going to lose the battle with picking up the drink tonight. Someone is watching right now, or someone's here who is going to get completely loaded tonight because the shame is just too great. You think telling them how bad they are, you think it would make any bit of difference? I mean, you think we can manipulate them, tell them that God's going to punish you for this? Man, they're already living in a hell. How do I know this? Because I've been there. Many of you have been there. You know what it's like. Why don't we do shame here at Free? Because shame doesn't work. And second, it's not who God is. As a recovering alcoholic who was in the very depths of my addiction while being a pastor at the same time, I know the power of shame. It's absolutely miserable. It feels like you're dying. And see, I wasn't shamed into healing. I was loved my way there. Weren't you? Because see, shame never creates healing. Only love can do that. So take a moment and reflect. Where is God rescuing you from shame? Or maybe you need to ask it more in the present. Where do you need to be rescued from shame? Take a moment, then we'll come back. Well, welcome back. 60 seconds isn't very long to reflect on the deepest things in life, is it? The things that keep us imprisoned the most. And what don't we do here in this community? 1, 2, 3. Come on, y'all were a little weak on that. Say it so the people in the back can hear. What don't we do? That was a little better. We don't do shame. God doesn't do shame. We honor our own journey when we accept where others are in theirs. And shame starts to break apart when we tell our stories in safe places. Is it true? So every single week here, we have a guest storyteller in the house. This week, it is Karis Shockley. Karis is going to share with us she's got this really powerful story of how shame worked in her life and addiction and what it's like to combat shame now, 5 years sober. Way to go, Karis. She's also with Aurora Sober Living House. They now have 9 houses? 9 houses. Some of you are here tonight. So y'all help me welcome Karis to the house. Watch your video?
I did not.
You'll have to watch it on the replay. There's a picture up there. There's your name, guest storyteller. You can't really see it here.
Okay, for it.
All right, Cherish. Let's jump into shame, Karis. So, and I said it in the email, and I said it on the social media. If you guys follow us on Facebook or Instagram, you saw this. Your mom passed away from pancreatic cancer when you were 10 years old.
Yes.
Caused you to keep secrets at a very early age.
Yeah, at a very early age. I mean, I had these feelings, right? And I didn't know it was shame until I did some work and I recovered a bit. But now I'm able to look back and identify the feelings that I felt at 10 years old with shame.
And so break it down for people. What was it exactly? Was it like, if my friends find out I don't have a mom, if my friends find out, because you also have a little brother that you were taking care of?
Yeah, for me, shame started with that negative self-talk and those unanswered questions that I would repeat in my mind and not be able to answer. The what ifs, if this looked different, why, over and over again. And I was never able to finish the question nor answer it. And that just created shame in this deep, ugly hole that I was living in at a very early age, and I didn't even know.
I mean, I love, Brene Brown was that definition, by the way, that I shared in the message, when she said it's when we think we're fundamentally flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. I mean, how many of us have battled that, right? Even as kids. So, Karis, your story goes on, and you were a senior in high school?
I was a senior in high school when my dad died of suicide, and more shame, right? More of those questions that I couldn't finish, couldn't answer. Had I done better as a daughter? What if I had? Hiding from the world, if I just look good appearance-wise, maybe no one will really know what happened to me. They won't see what my house looks like. They won't know that I don't have parents. That's when the double life started and rooted inside of me, that I have to put on this facade or someone will truly know who I am and they will not like it.
Yeah, fear, right? And we talked about how fear and shame they're like cousins, so closely related. So you turned, like many of us in this space, many in this community, you combated the shame with the booze.
Yeah, my dad was an alcoholic, and at 15, I took my first drink, and I remember very much thinking, I understand. It makes sense to me why he drinks the way he does. I don't have to feel all of this. And so many times over and over, I drank so I did not have to feel, which created the cycle of shame and the questions and the anxiety and everything else that goes with.
So I want to break that down a little bit for people because we'll have people here tonight or people who are watching and they're like, man, I just don't get that. I mean, why would anyone want to drink that much? Why? What feeling does it give? What do you mean it takes away feelings that you didn't know what to do with, feelings you didn't like? And I had the same experience, by the way, right? Explain that to people.
I didn't want to feel any of the feels. I didn't want to face the fact that my parents had died. I didn't want to, and if I wasn't drinking, I was stuck in my feelings. I was stuck in my questions. I was stuck in the what ifs. If I was drunk, I was numb or passed out or looking for my next drink. And it would take away in the moment those feelings.
And so this continued for How long?
Years. So around 30 is when I got into my sober for a couple months cycle. I'd get sober for a couple months and then I'd drink again because I too did not think I deserved to feel good. Once I got sober for a couple months, I would start to feel good. It was such an overwhelming feeling to feel good. I wasn't comfortable in good. I wasn't comfortable in okay. And I knew very quickly how to get back to where I was comfortable, in the shame, in the guilt, in the hiding. And I could do that by a drink.
Oh man, it's a tricky one, isn't it? That shame stuff. How many of y'all have lived with exactly what she's talking about? Something good will happen in your life, and you're like, yeah, but when's the next shoe gonna drop? Because I'm not deserving of this good stuff. So something bad's gonna happen. Oh, it didn't happen, then I'll just create it. I'll sabotage it.
Very much.
That shoe's gonna drop.
Very much.
So tell us, so you were in this 2-year cycle. You didn't know how to handle the good. Then you called my boy Scott. I guess he's your boy too. Your boy Scott.
I
Scott
called
Mounts.
and I said, I'm tired. I'm done.
Tell us who Scott is, because Scott texted me today, by the way. Noelle, we have to set aside a XX long sleeve T-shirt for Scott. By the way, did I mention? Just let me give a little side note here.
Sure.
We have new T-shirts that arrived today, long sleeve, and they say we don't do shame on them. How about that? Scott wants a XX. Sorry, Kara. So you
Yeah.
called Scott. Tell us who Scott is.
Scott has been my friend in recovery for years. He now owns Transitions Sober Living. And he was a friend that I knew would answer and show up. And I called him and I said, I'm tired and I cannot live like this anymore. And he showed up at the airport. I was in Delaware visiting my grandfather who was passing, blackout drunk. I can't tell you anything about that trip. Scott picked me up at the airport and got me into sober living. And talk about shame. That trip was full of shame.
Yeah.
And I was in sober living for a week, and I found out that I was pregnant. Talk about shame. Those questions, that negative self-talk of, you can't take care of yourself. How are you going to raise a child? How are you going to pay for it? What are you going to do? And it just comes flooding in so quickly. And I did different this time. I didn't pick up a bottle. I got a sponsor, and I found a fellowship. For me, it's AA. And I did some really hard work so that I didn't have to fall back into shame.
So was your last drink the day you found out you were pregnant?
A week after my last drink, and then a week after I found out I was pregnant.
Yeah. I mean, what a story you get to pass down to your 5-year-old little boy.
Yeah.
That he was maybe not the reason, but a significant part of you not picking up a drink so that you could be a mom.
Very much. He is a gift. I do the work to stay sober, but he was definitely a wonderful reason to do the work.
And you talked about, Karis, that the unhealthy, that shame is rooted in those unhealthy what-if questions.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm human, and so I have all those same feels today. I still mess up, and I make mistakes, and I have thoughts that come into my mind, but today I have this armor that I've created in recovery where when those questions pop in, I play out the question, I ask the entire question, and today I'm able to answer them with my truths. And my truths are that I show up today and do the best that I can today. And that's all I can do today. And then tonight I'll go to bed sober and I'll show up again tomorrow. And those are my truths. So whatever crazy question my mind comes up with, because they're still there, the truth is that I don't live in shame today. I have a lot of issues with ego and embarrassment and, real problems that I have solution for today, but they're not based in shame.
Yeah, which was so fascinating to me because when you talked about the other day when we were talking about shame, you said it still shows up today, but you said I wouldn't really call it shame, I would call it ego. Ego is shame's other cousin, right? Fear and ego.
Very much.
So tell us about it.
The way I live my life today is so different than I did in my addiction. The actions that I do, the person that I am, my truths are that my actions are not shameful. They are not out of hiding and afraid of who I am or afraid of people to see who I am, because I've become to love myself. So I don't have to hide today in that shame. I still deal with ego, and I still have to right my wrongs, and I still have feelings, but today I deal with a lot of ego, not so much shame.
Yeah, and I think I'm so glad you mentioned that, because we have to remember those things. Was it last week we talked about this? We don't just get sober and then life is like unicorns and rainbows, right? Life is just all better and then there's no more heart. The heart is still there. We just get to deal with it so differently today. You get to be a mom today and not pick up a drink.
Fair
Like,
enough. Yeah.
I know you know it's a gift, but it's a huge gift, right?
It's huge.
So tell us, I'm assuming, I'm just making a big assumption here. There are people here tonight, because I know some of these people, that battle shame. They are stuck in that spitting cell. They are hiding. There's people watching tonight. In fact, you know, almost every single week there's people that come here and they say, man, it's my first time here, but I've been watching for a long time. I was just so scared to come in.
Yeah.
Someone said tonight they sat in their car 20 minutes before they came inside.
I'm glad they came in.
I'm glad they came in too. And shame has like these different levels and displays itself in so many different ways. For the one battling shame, stuck maybe in addiction, stuck in the spitting cell, what word of hope would you give?
Our actions in our addiction do not define the people that we are. There is hope. There is help on the other side. It can be beautiful. You have to walk through it and ask for help, and don't let those actions define the person that you are.
That was pretty good, wasn't it? Karis, anything else you want to add about shame?
I don't know.
Okay. Thank you for being with us. And by the way, I just want to say Karis is here every Wednesday, right?
I am.
Every Wednesday, being a peer recovery coach. And I know Derek's here. We have peer recovery coaches in this community. And if you are looking to get some recovery coaching, come hang out on Wednesday. Get to know Karis. I know she would love to help you. Thank you, Karis, for being part of this community and sharing your story tonight. Shame. We don't do shame. God doesn't do shame. We honor our own journey when we accept where others are and theirs. Y'all, one of the ways we break shame is not just by telling our stories, but man, I was just saying to somebody this week, the greatest gift my recovery gave me was to actually the gift of letting people in, letting people know me, letting people know when I'm not doing well. So it's how we end our evenings together here at Free on Saturday nights. We end with sharing our heartaches together. Just like we do with celebrations, we share those heartaches together. This is the hard stuff. The stuff that's weighing you down, the stuff you need prayer for. We have a prayer team here. In fact, Chandra leads our prayer team. Thank you, Chandra. We pray for you all throughout the week. She sends emails of all the things that get lifted up during these heartaches, and we lift you up through the week. And I know others in this community, y'all text each other and Facebook message each other and call each other and do what y'all do. And it's really healthy to let people in. So take 3 minutes. And here in the house, we'll do just like we did with celebrations. If you're online, jot down a line. How can we be praying for you? How can we be lifting you up? How can this community be supporting you, even from a distance? So take 3 minutes and shout them out.
months since my brother and friend Jeremy Farrow passed away to a drug overdose, and I just want prayers sent out to his mom because she seems like she's still having a hard time. I know I'm just coming out of the depression of his loss, so I can't imagine what she's going through.
Thanks for sharing that, Kiefer.
Hey, my sister's just had her second radiation treatment, so I'd appreciate some prayers for her.
Was that Kavita that was sharing? Kavita, prayers for your sister. I just can't see in the back because it's not very light, but prayers for you, prayers for your sister. Thank you for lifting that up. All right. Noel, are you joining me up here? Noel, it's good to have you up here tonight.
It's good to be up here tonight.
And we got new Army Green. Is
We
it?
do.
Wait, is it called Army Green?
I think this is Army Green.
Army Green, because I said that before and I got corrected. Okay, Army Green. We got those new T-shirts in tonight too, with the long-sleeved ones that say we don't do shame.
The
Did I
long-sleeved
mention that?
ones
I
do.
did mention that. All right, let's. You want to step on this side of me?
Oh my goodness, the
I
Ryan
know,
Candidate
I'm gonna
dance.
make
Here
it
we
awkward.
are.
You
Yes,
know
the
how
Ryan Candidate two-step. All right.
What it is? I'm a man of routine and habit.
know
Throw
what?
that off, and I'm just a hot mess. Okay, you take the first one.
I will. Mary Jane says, please pray for two friends awaiting cancer tests. Both have been shall be back in appointment because of COVID. Praying for your friends. Mary Jane, lifting that up.
Yeah, prayers for them. Thank you for sharing that with us. Kylie says, my depression is kicking my butt, and I feel alone and not seen. Plus, I've had a migraine for 3 days. Hey, on the count of three, will y'all just shout out to Kylie, you are not alone? 1, 2.
You are not alone, Kylie.
Kylie, you got a whole community of people with you tonight, lifting you up. Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for being vulnerable.
It was great to see you yesterday, Kylie. Julie Knight, please pray for my daughter-in-law, Nicole. After giving birth to a beautiful baby girl a few weeks ago, Nicole had a stroke this past week. She is stable, but still uncertain about the impact and recovery. Praying for you, Julie and Nicole. Lifting that up for sure.
Yeah, thanks for lifting that up. Nick says, prayers and help lift my family and myself as we still mourn the sudden passing of my uncle back in November. Has been a struggle, but I am now starting the grieving process and reaching out to those who can help. Nick, I'm glad you're here, dude. I think you're here somewhere. I saw you earlier tonight. I'm glad you're part of this community, and thank you for sharing that with us, dude. Lifting you and the whole family up.
Yeah, that's right.
Glad you're here.
Dustin James, I broke this week. Friend of 30 years died because of addiction, and his funeral was last week. I reached out to Derek last night and told him I wasn't okay. I'm still not, but he told me that was okay. I was supposed to be there tonight, but couldn't because I couldn't afford gas because of this darkness, but at least I'm watching. Dustin, we are so grateful that you're watching and that you're reaching out to people in this community, and we're here for you, lifting you up and sending you prayers.
Dustin, thank you for sharing that, dude. And I got to say, pause for just a moment. We've had a couple people lifted up about overdose deaths, and man, I know it's something this community knows something about. We say it all the time. It was over 100,000 people that died right here in America because of an overdose death. So, man, prayers for all the families that are suffering and watching their loved ones battle and those still stuck in the grips of addiction. Do we have one more? I think we have one more. Carrie Ann says, pray COVID loses its grip in my home and for so many others. My husband is home from the hospital doing better, but we both are still sick. The saddest part for me was realizing I lost faith lately. I pray and work towards restoration. Carrie, praying for you, praying for faith to be restored, for hope and gladness, and all the things you long for. Thank you for sharing that with this community, lifting you up.
Well, that was
Noel,
it.
thank you for joining me up here
So
tonight.
very welcome.
All right, y'all, one of the ways we also lift one another up is by keeping this ministry, this organization sustained. And so I say it every week, and I'm going to say it every week from here on out. Thank you to those of you that give in this community. It truly, truly makes a difference. It's how we keep things sustaining and thriving forward. So, and I know, I say this too, I know for many of you, giving is a sacrificial practice in your life. Like, it's easier not to give. I know for some of you, it's a spiritual practice in your life that you take very seriously. Thank you for that. There are a couple of boxes. There's one box here that says giving, and there's one just outside these doors. And we're greatly appreciative of your donations that you're able to give here. And I know in this day and age, in 2022, some of you do not carry cash, like myself. So there's 3 ways to give in the virtual world. And the first is to simply download the app, Free Spiritual Community. It's free, and you can give right there. You can give one time or set it up for monthly or however you want to do it. Or you can go to the website, freespiritualcommunity.com/give, and you can give that way, the same way as the app, or text a message on your screen, the number on your screen, and it'll send you a simple set of instructions. All those ways are safe, simple, and secure, and your generous giving, I want to start that up. Your generous giving helps sustain the mission of breaking the silence of addiction and creating space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. So thank you to all of you who have been part of that recently and still part of that today. Shall we go out with a prayer? You know, every week we talk about which prayer to do. Which prayer should we throw on the screen and pray together? This week it felt appropriate to close with the serenity prayer. So I invite you to open your hands. It's a sign of openness. You're open for the new thing. You're open for the God who moves in you and through you and all around you. So take a big, deep breath before we pray together. Invite the God of the universe in. Sometimes it feels like God is distant, doesn't it? And when we breathe that breath, it's almost like God is saying, how can I get any closer? I'm in your breathing. Let's pray the serenity prayer together. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. My free brothers and sisters, this week, may you say no to shame. May you step into that fear and remember, in this community, we don't do shame. God doesn't do shame. There's a better way to live. So this week, may you experience all kinds of grace and peace. And we'll see you next week.